again, and thank you for coming here to walk with me. Um, if the audio sounds a bit strange, it's because it's a windy day, and also I have a bit of a cold today. So my voice may not be as strong, and that actually ties in very well with a topic that's on my mind, which is the topic of comfort and discomfort and their value. Like, how much is it worth to avoid a bit of discomfort or seek some additional pleasure and comfort? Because I see that as one of the biggest things people struggle with, and I have struggled with as well in the past. But essentially, the truth is that comfort is generally not really worth anything on its own. It's a nice thing, but what I'm saying is it's not worth the trade-off that it usually requires. So, for example, there's exercise. A lot of people mysteriously don't exercise at all because they think it's uncomfortable, doesn't feel nice, it's not cushy and comfortable. So they don't do it, or they give up, or they act like it's somehow harder for them than it is for everyone else, or like the benefits just aren't worth it for them, which is a bunch of bullshit rationalizations. And that's kind of the general truth here, is that you're trading all these great, vast, positive things for this one little temporary comfort that doesn't really have any real value. It really doesn't. Or another example would be, if you wake up in the morning, you have things to do, but you just stay in bed. You don't get up. It's like, what are you doing with that time? Sure, it's cozy and comfy, but you're not doing anything. You're not sleeping, so you're not restoring your energy or your body. You're not meditating. You're just kind of lying there, maybe thinking about some bullshit or browsing the internet on your phone. That's a lot of time you're throwing away if you do that often. And at the same time, you're training yourself to be lazy and seek more comfort and throw things away, so it's a double whammy. Whereas getting up really doesn't take any effort, you just put your feet on the floor and stand up, go do something. But that's the thing about the comfort and discomfort thing, is the mind likes to make up all these bullshit rationalizations for why you should seek comfort or stay away from discomfort. But the thing is, discomfort is not difficulty. Nothing is difficult just because it doesn't feel great. That's the big illusion that people are feeding and acting on, which is really just weak. Discomfort is not difficulty. If it's exercise, for example, you pick up the weight and you lift it, or you do your push-ups or your yoga or your asanas, whatever type of exercise it is you're doing, you just do it. It's not difficult. Pushing yourself past the point of discomfort is necessary. If you're staying in your comfort zone, you're never going to see any actual progress. And that applies to life in general. But that's the thing, discomfort is not difficulty. And a big eye-opener about this for me was when I started taking cold showers by default. Because that's the thing, you know, like, especially if you do it first thing in the morning, you get up and you turn on the cold water and you make yourself stand in it, you're gonna have that reflex, you know, to pull out and go do something else instead. But that's the thing, if you look at it, it's a few minutes, you know, of discomfort. There's no actual difficulty. You don't need to do anything. You just stand there, literally doing nothing. So there's no difficulty in it. And some will say, well, it's a mind over matter challenge, but really it isn't, because your mind is what's trying to pull you out of there. All you need to do is learn to relax into the discomfort, and that is not difficult. It is the opposite of difficult. But yeah, people tend to make up these excuses, and it is tempting, it was for me too, to just act like it's so difficult, or like I have something else that's better to do, or like there's some reason why I shouldn't do it, or like it's somehow not great. But you know, like, it has countless benefits. Taking a cold shower is great for your health, for your complexion, your self-discipline, your energy levels, your immune system, general, just so many great things, so many reasons to do it, lasting, great, positive things. And on the other end of the scale, the only thing you have is comfort, literally the only thing. It's a little bit of comfort for a few minutes, like a slight difference in comfort or discomfort levels. Is that worth more than the big difference in benefits or detriments to greater aspects of life, like your health and self-discipline and so on? It really isn't. So if you're placing comfort above those things, something isn't right. And again, it's not difficult. Whatever difficulty is there is just an illusion that we create to keep ourselves out of doing things that push our envelopes, push us into the vast space outside of our comfort zone. It's really no different than addiction, you know. People see the real danger and the disgusting aspects of substance addiction to hard drugs, for example. And this is something that it's a false dichotomy. Our addiction to comfort in general and to pleasure seeking is the same regardless of what substance or what substitute we're looking for. And that's another thing where people tend to make excuses like, oh, it's harder for me than it is for anyone else, or some people have it easier with these things, but it's not really true. And I used to be really addicted with a lot of things, multiple different substances and cigarettes and pornography and just various addictions, you know, that don't really serve me or anyone or anything dear to me, but just gave a moment of relief or just feeding the addiction. It's just weak. That's the entire answer. We're creating the difficulty, we're creating the different circumstances that make it hard to change our behaviors for the better. And we keep ourselves down, because even if we want something better in life, if we're accustomed to misery or mediocrity, and we've made that our comfort zone, then our subconscious mind is going to work hard to maintain that status quo and sabotage you when you try to make things better. So yeah, what I'm saying is you got to remember that comfort and discomfort don't really mean anything, and they don't have any values of their own. They're just there to show you. They're signals. They're tied to the actions and inactions. And that's another major part of the illusion, is people don't realize that the reason why you feel discomfort when you're doing something that's good, that's something that's natural for you, it is because you haven't been doing it enough. It's not the actual action that's making you uncomfortable. If you haven't been working out for half a year and you go to work out and it's going to feel like shit, you're going to feel like throwing up or going to get lightheaded and so on. That's not because you're exercising. Exercising is the natural state. You're feeling the discomfort because you neglected it for a long time. So what you associate with creating the discomfort is actually the remedy. It's the delayed reaction. It's like the healing symptom. Like when you are sick and something is attacking your body, like a bacteria giving you a cold or a flu, your body does all these things to deal with it. It gives you a fever to kill off the bacteria. It creates a lot of mucus and liquid in your sinuses to flush the bacteria out. And that is what you perceive as a sickness a lot of the time. These symptoms are actually just the healing process. The actual damage is something that preceded this. So it's the same when you feel discomfort from trying to meditate or exercise or making yourself be productive when you're feeling like shit. The thing is, you don't feel like shit because of something external. You feel like shit because you keep making yourself feel like shit so you don't have to do the things that change your life. Because that's the thing, part of you is afraid of changing. That's inherent to every human. And if you don't acknowledge that and learn to tackle it in a conscious way, then you're going to make very unwise decisions based on comfort seeking. Because that's the thing again, when you look at most of these things, the only real so-called difficulty is the matter of comfort and discomfort. That's the only thing in one end of the scale. And on the other end of the scale, there are all the benefits of the things you want to make of your life, and all the harmful things of not doing it. Those are all on one end of the scales. On the other end, the only thing is a slight difference in comfort or discomfort. So it really shouldn't be a hard choice. It's all an illusion. Rationalizations, creating problems to create excuses for yourself. And even this, acknowledging these facts, can be a great discomfort to a lot of people. And that is because it attacks these problems that have been integrated into the core of your subconscious mind. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's the thing, discomfort so much of the time is just a matter of not being used to something. It's like a kid who doesn't want to eat some new food just because he hasn't eaten that particular dish before, so he deems it inedible. Or try to give himself a reason to dislike the taste or something like that. Because you don't want to change. You're afraid of new things. You're worried. It's just human instinct. Whenever you're outside of your comfort zone, you're gonna feel some confusion at first, some sense of disorientation, discomfort, and so on. It's normal. And when you start living outside of your comfort zone expands. And you become comfortable with the things you were not comfortable with before. And sometimes the things that used to give you comfort, that were actually bad, just won't really give you any form of gratification anymore. So it makes your life easier. And that's really what it's all about. Because we're not supposed to live in our comfort zone. Comfort zones, like the ones we experience these days, didn't exist until 150 years ago, except for a very small number of people. And you can also see on those old people, if you're into history, for example, you look at the nobility of these older times, they were always sickly and crazy and died of weird diseases and stuff that didn't happen to normal people. Now those are the norm. These are the big epidemics of our times, the general degeneracy and so on. So we created these comfort zones that weren't supposed to be there, because we've evolved for millions of years to be able to handle a lot of different circumstances. We're very adaptable beings, probably the most adaptable species of animals on this earth, or at least of mammals, especially with our intelligence and stuff. But yeah, the whole comfort discomfort situation has led people to stray from that and deny ourselves the natural stimulation that we're supposed to live in, and that makes us unhealthy both physically and mentally. It makes life hard and weird and confusing when it really shouldn't be. That's the big paradox or irony of comfort seeking in comfort zones, is that it really doesn't give us much comfort and pleasure, really. And the more we seek comfort and pleasure for their own sake, the more numb we become to them, and then we become depressed and we're stuck in the addiction. So we become anhedonic and depressed the more we try to find more comfort, more pleasure. Everything becomes uncomfortable. That's why these spoiled and coddled children grow up to have mental issues and just be afraid of everything and unable to deal with anything, because everything that happens will hurt in one way or another, make them sad and confused and scared. Everything will be scary when you're only used to one thing. And it doesn't matter how much you look at these things in theory, if you're not actually getting yourself out there, life will be scary, life will be painful, and it's only a matter of a lack of exposure. Because we've been raised by our parents and grandparents and our schools and whatever other institutions and organizations have been involved in your upbringing, whatever community you come from, we have these comfort-seeking tendencies and this almost like idolization, putting comfort and pleasure on this pedestal over everything else. We grow up in families where all the grown-ups do is watch TV as much as they can whenever they don't have to do something else, or who just seek other forms of comfort and pleasure and avoid discomfort. So they teach us to do the same thing. And even the ones that are better, who have the self-discipline and realistic approach to life of accepting the ups and downs, they tend to be overprotective of their children and wish for them to have a more coddled, luxurious life. But in the end, that's a big disfavor, really, because it makes us less prepared to tackle life and be free and happy and responsible. Because again, everything will be foreign and difficult and new, and we'll have to figure it out from scratch. But that's also a tempting thing for the ego to just start blaming society for these problems, or other people, your parents and so on. But the truth is, we all have the same instincts, and regardless of whether we grew up in a narrow comfort zone, whether we were spoiled or not, it doesn't really make that much of a difference in our truer selves, because we all have the choice to break the pattern. Breaking the pattern is not difficult. The only difficulty is the discomfort. And whatever difficulty you ascribe to it and create around it in order to keep yourself in your comfort zone. Because you are kind of wired against yourself, in a sense. But it is easy to undo, or at least it is simple, and it doesn't take that much time. If you're just consistent with it, of pushing your boundaries a little bit each day, not overdoing it, just pushing yourself a little bit further each day, each week, each month, being a bit more disciplined, taking a few more risks, trying some new things, not listening to your excuses as much. Just take it bit by bit, little baby steps at a time, or fully grown person steps for that matter. You're not going to get burnt out or run into a wall. That's just your shadow trying to keep you where you are, making these excuses to not do anything. It's really that simple. So remember that prioritizing comfort just isn't ever worth it. It's temporary. You're trading huge, long-term, lasting positive things for a small amount of very temporary, slight elevations of comfort levels. And in the long run, it actually just increases your need for comfort and makes you more uncomfortable. So what are the actionable steps on this? Really, it's simpler than most would believe. It's just don't make excuses, don't listen. Just don't place this value on comfort. Don't fear discomfort like this. It is a matter of a simple choice. There's no magic pill, there's no 12-step program, there's no strategy or product you can buy. Some people will try to sell you these things, but they're just after your money. They're not really gonna help you fix the problem. Nobody really can. Even if someone is there to coach you, that's just a temporary boost, and actually if you rely on that, you might be worse off. So just remember that comfort isn't really worth that much. Discomfort is nothing to fear. Discomfort does not equal difficulty. It's not difficult, it's just uncomfortable. 99% of the struggles you'll face, the difficulties, are only in your head, because there's a thing in your head that wants to keep you in your comfort zone. That is all. Let's walk again some other time. Take care and goodbye.